Upon learning the news of his brother's serious illness, this 70-year-old man made a bold decision to drive his lawnmower with a top speed of only 5 kilometers per hour across 600 kilometers to visit him. Old friends chased after him to dissuade him, but the man was notoriously stubborn in town. Watching that slow yet determined figure, a friend said helplessly, "He won't even make it out of the small town." Sure enough, his equally aged lawnmower had only traveled 5 kilometers when it stalled on the spot and died right there on the side of the road, leaving straight into the desolate countryside. He spent a long time feeling helpless under the sunset, before finally waiting for a bus touring the countryside. The driver enthusiastically invited him to board. The group of elderly ladies also welcomed his arrival. "My Edward also likes to ride his lawnmower." The driver took him to the town ahead.
Welcome to the Shin Music Channel.
Watching Straight struggle back and forth, old friends sighed with regret. But just when everyone thought Straight would give up there, he took out a long dusty hunting rifle and put that useless old machine out of its misery. Then he went to the local farm machinery market, took out all his savings of $320, and bought a 66 model, 99% new little green machine. Because the owner was always honest in business. Under his daughter's helpless gaze, Straight drove the modified lawnmower and set out again, on the road facing the hymn of the sun and the curious gazes of others, slowly heading west until the sky grew dark. He would turn off the engine, pick up some dry firewood by the roadside, enjoy the dinner his daughter prepared by the campfire, then light a cigar and quietly drift off. The simple trailer built from wooden boards behind him would be his only companion at night. After dawn, Straight continued on his way. He saw a girl by the road trying to hitch a ride, but she was ignored. So he enthusiastically waved at the girl, but she avoided his gaze. Clearly, she didn't think much of his old piece of junk. Straight lit a campfire to spend his second night. However, the girl who couldn't get a ride during the day followed the light and walked over. "I couldn't get a ride." Straight didn't say anything after hearing that. Instead, he shared his ham and blanket with the girl. Gently observing this girl who came from nowhere, he soon guessed that she had run away from home. And the girl also confessed her predicament at this time. It turned out she was young and pregnant out of wedlock. Because she feared her parents' rage, she chose to run away, wandering alone for 5 months, looking at the girl in front of him. Straight said earnestly, "They might be angry, but they wouldn't want to lose you." "I don't know. I don't know either, but how do you want home?" "I don't know." Family might criticize your youthful ignorance and be furious at your momentary foolishness. Just like Straight's own daughter. Although she had an intellectual disability, everyone said she was mentally challenged. And because of someone else's momentary negligence, her young son was severely burned. The government also stripped her of her custody rights because of this. But he was still willing to offer his daughter all his tolerance. Some say she's foolish, unable to face life on her own. But Straight could see she kept the house in perfect order. Some say she is not. But Straight knew. What gushed from the grass was not water, but a mother's infinite regret. When my children were young, I often played a game with them. When my children were young, I often played a game with them. I gave each of them a stick. Then I told them to break the stick. This was, of course, easy to do. But then I told them to tie the sticks together and try to break them again. This, of course, did not succeed. Then I said, "This is the power of family unity." Perhaps the meaning of family's existence is to keep us from being easily broken by the difficulties of life. The girl was lost in thought after hearing this. When Straight woke up the next day, he found the girl had already turned back from her wrong path and ended her wandering life. The bundle of firewood left by the campfire was the best and most direct proof. The old man felt a little comforted. Then he drove the lawnmower and continued on his way. The old engine roared firmly. However, not long after, seeing the sky suddenly changed, and a small shed just happened to appear ahead. Straight turned the vehicle and rushed over. And just as he arrived, lightning and thunder filled the sky. A torrential rain poured down. But Straight calmly lit a cigar, smiling as he watched the storms of life pass by time and again. while time ages one's face, it also brings a sense of calm and composure. The earth became more golden and brilliant after the thunderstorm. The earring grass in the October breeze undulated and wound along. The world was filled with the joy of harvest, peace and tranquility. On a sunny afternoon, they passed by him. He parked the lawnmower on the side of the road and waved to them enthusiastically. One after another, the spirited figures also reminded him of himself when he was young. In the evening, Straight arrived at their camp. The young people cheered for this last place finisher, but they could not take away that sorrow that pierced through the years. Straight sighed. That when he was young. But now, with gray hair and over 70 years old. In his view, experiencing time is a form of torture.
Welcome to the Shin Music Channel. Enjoy the
And the only benefit is that it increases your experience, making you understand that there must be sacrifices in life. Understanding how wheat is separated from the chaff. Learning to forget those useless people and things. Straight had met all kinds of people along the way. Some people just stepped on the gas pedal to the floor, stirring up a strong wind, blowing away his straw hat, revealing a bald head. But sometimes driving too fast is not a good thing. One day, Straight encountered a car accident on the road. A lady was driving and hit. He kindly asked if she needed any help, but the woman seemed a bit agitated, because this was the 13th year she had hit. In 7 weeks. She had tried every way, turning on high beams and honking the horn, rolling down the window and screaming at the deer herd, even praying at home. But the silly deer just kept running into her car. And this road is the one she takes to work every day. An adult's breakdown often happens in just a single moment. And after that moment, one must get back on the road.
Welcome to the Shin Music Channel. Enjoy the vibes.
However, someone else's misfortune might be good luck for you, because you get to have a rare venison feast. Straight continued his leisurely journey, but found the lawnmower going faster and faster. Even pressing the brake to the floor was useless. He had no choice but to try to steady the vehicle, leaving the rest to fate. The old man had quite an experience of speed and passion. People nearby who were participating in a fire drill gathered around to show concern. It turned out there was a long downhill slope just now, and Straight's lawnmower was modified against regulations, and was towing a lot of things. So the inertia was too great to stop. Among the helpful crowd was an employee from a farm machinery factory, who checked the lawnmower for him and said, "Now I'm telling you, Alvin, you're not going anywhere tonight. The engine is almost worn out. And your transmission system has problems too. Where do you want to go?" Mount Zion. Upon learning that Straight's destination was still 100 kilometers away, and that he had to cross the Mississippi River on the way, plus many mountain roads, everyone was puzzled. Just to visit a brother. Why go through so much trouble? Why don't you drive there? I don't have a driver's license. Then, can't he come to see you? He had a stroke and was hospitalized. Straight confessed. He came from Lawrence in the west, had been on the road for 35 days, and had traveled 500 kilometers. During this time, he had been living in the trailer. Someone asked if he was afraid of sleeping alone in the wild. He replied that he had slept in the trenches of World War II. So how could he be afraid of the fields of his hometown? Everyone present was moved by this. They invited Straight to stay for a few days, especially since his lawnmower couldn't be fixed for a while. The old man understood this would be a significant expense, and the $50 in his pocket definitely wouldn't be enough. He found Danny, who had taken him in, and borrowed a phone to call his daughter at home, asking her to mail his pension check. Listening to his daughter's words of longing on the other end of the line, Straight couldn't help but choke up. After all, he had been away from home for over 3 days, and his daughter was his greatest concern. Afterward, Straight left $3 under the phone to thank Danny for his help. But this left Danny feeling a bit at a loss for a moment. He could see that Straight was not a wealthy man, and he had to rely on a cane to walk. How would he traverse the rugged road ahead? So the couple discussed driving him there directly. It was only a half-day drive anyway, just like a weekend road trip. But their kindness was flatly refused by Straight. "I am very grateful, but I want to complete my journey alone." Perhaps in Straight's heart, only by visiting his brother in his own way, Could he make up for the regret of not seeing him for 10 years? Or perhaps he really didn't want to trouble others anymore. Over these 2 days, Danny's neighbors also often came to bring food to Straight, including an old man of similar age to him, who invited him for a drink. Although he had quit drinking for many years, he still gladly accepted the invitation. But he only ordered a glass of milk. The two, both World War II veterans, felt they had met too late. They lamented the pain brought by the war together, witnessing the death of comrades with their own eyes, and pulling the trigger on the enemy with their own hands. In the later stages of the war, they had been trying to forget the past. But the longer they lived, the more it seemed that those comrades, those children, had lost so much time. And what haunted Straight the most was that in the woods, he had accidentally killed a fellow scout. Everyone thought he was killed by a German sniper, and that self-reproach and guilt were borne by Straight alone. He once thought time could dilute everything. What is long is not the years, but the accumulation of memories. The next day, the twin brothers, while bickering, fixed Straight's lawnmower, including parts and labor. It totaled $247. It was almost worth more than the lawnmower itself. But Straight managed to talk them down to $187. And the reason was simple. How much of your time was spent arguing? You're right. Shut up, Danny. Watching these brothers, who were deeply attached to each other, yet constantly bickering, Straight confessed that he left them. Until over a decade ago, they had a huge fight, said the most vicious things in the world, and had not spoken since. To this day, he regretted it every single moment. That moment of impulse. But time never gives anyone a chance to go back to the past. Brothers are always brothers. The two brothers looked at each other with a knowing expression. Perhaps only when they truly lose each other. Danny sat with him for a long, long time, to thank this stranger for his kindness. Straight stood up and tipped his hat in respect. And Danny was also honored by his arrival, which made him cherish family even more. As Danny watched him go, Straight set off early toward the destination where his brother was. The warmth of the sunrise inadvertently brushed away some of the chill. The breeze along the way. He traveled through the green and yellow river forests, and through the fields draped in autumn light. The country roads were always empty, allowing him to move forward with peace of mind. As the destination drew closer, more than 30 days awaiting anticipation. Crossing the sparkling Mississippi River, Straight chose to spend the night at a cemetery at the foot of the mountain. He kindly brought dinner for Straight, and sat down to talk with him. During the conversation, Straight discovered that the pastor actually knew his brother. A few weeks ago, his brother was hospitalized with a serious illness, and happened to be in the parish the pastor was responsible for. But he had never heard the other person mention that he had a brother. We haven't been on speaking terms as brothers for a long time. Straight felt a bit dejected. He and his brother grew up on a farm in Minnesota, where winter lasted 9 months a year. As children, they slept in the same bed, did the same farm work, and looked up at the same starry sky, talking about everything every day, living freely. But as adults, they became addicted to alcohol, along with constant anger and vanity, causing the two brothers to turn against each other, not speaking for over a decade, and not wanting to dwell on who was right or wrong, just wanting to be with my brother, to look up at the stars and their memories together, just like they used to. I want to make amends. I want to sit with him and watch the stars together. Bless you, sir. The next day, the mist in the countryside had not yet cleared. Straight was already driving toward his destination, which was close at hand. He could already feel the presence of his brother. While stopping to refuel, he went to the bar and ordered a beer. I haven't had a drink in many years, but now I just want an ice-cold beer. Good news brings a good mood. Today, Straight was glowing. Perhaps he wasn't drinking alcohol, but the joy of a long-awaited reunion. The bar owner had lived here his whole life, and naturally knew the brother's address. Can you tell me how to get to Lyle's house? I haven't seen him in a long time. Take Highway 61 to Highway West. Then take Lyle's house is on your right. Straight continued along Highway 61. The sun shone on the land and brought a long-lost warmth into his heart. After crossing mountain road after mountain road, climbing hill after hill, he finally arrived at his brother's door. But the house before him was so dilapidated. Just like their broken relationship, he leaned on his crutches and walked forward with some difficulty, calling out the name that was most familiar, yet felt so strange. Lyle. 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 But there was no response from the house for a long time. A sense of foreboding rose in his heart. Alvin Straight let out a sigh of relief. Although the two hadn't seen each other for over a decade, they recognized each other's voices immediately. They both had so much to say. Yet they stood there in silence, just gazing at each other quietly, letting tears well up in their eyes. Looking at that simple, second-hand lawnmower, the brother asked, "Did you really?" Yes, Lyle. No need for more words. The brother already understood the hardships of his journey. The past vanity and anger, those senseless arguments, had long since faded away and become insignificant. The tears hanging in their eyes spoke of the regret in their hearts, but at least they were still in time. In time to catch up properly. In time to make up for past regrets. In time to look up at that shared starry sky. Perhaps we have all made such mistakes, giving all our patience and kindness to strangers, while saving our worst tempers for those closest to us. A momentary war of words can create a lifelong regret. But at the time, we didn't think much of it. Even when it came to family, we always had to compete to be right. However, as the seasons change and time flows on, we begin to mature. We begin to learn to accept regrets. We begin to heal ourselves in lonely nights, those days that have long since passed. But when life is about to come to an end, we find that we have not truly let go. So we suddenly realize. We start trying hard to salvage that relationship. But this is not that easy. Because some distances need to be measured by steps. Some reconciliations need time to be fulfilled. And some missing emotions need to be repaid with the rest of our lives. Even if we have grown old, I still want to gaze at those stars with you.